A ramen ad on TV made him drool, and he couldn't resist finishing his last cup. It was a delicacy. But after this joy, he was worried because it was his last meal. It's the 10th day of the apocalypse, and Xiao Shuai is trapped at home without water or food. After this meal, he will starve. The apocalypse came suddenly. That day, he was gaming as usual when he saw teammates losing health, saying something big was happening outside. What could be more important than reaching the finals? Xiao Shuai didn't care and turned off the TV. Suddenly, there was no signal. Just as Xiao Shuai was puzzled, his phone got an emergency disaster alert. The TV intermittently reported riots everywhere. The whole country was in chaos, and screams and running sounds outside the window were constant. Xiao Shuai trembled on the balcony. The scene was surreal. People fled wildly. Helicopters hovered. Fire trucks crashed. People bit each other, and a mother searched for her daughter with a knife. The mother and daughter survived the disaster and embraced, but suddenly, the daughter pushed her mother down and began biting her. The neighborhood was chaotic. Xiao Shuai was stunned. What was happening? Suddenly, there was rapid knocking at the door. Xiao Shuai approached the peephole but saw no one. He opened the door slightly, and a man rushed in, locking it immediately. Xiao Shuai saw the bloodied stranger and rudely told him to go. The man, sensing Xiao Shuai's firmness, pleaded to use the bathroom before leaving. Xiao Shuai felt sorry for the man. As he rushed to the bathroom, the TV reported a global virus outbreak that turned people into cannibals, with symptoms like screaming and bloodshot eyes. Hearing this, Xiao Shuai quickly grabbed a knife, pointed it at the man coming out, and told him to leave. The man shook his head in panic, saying he was fine, but his eyes started bulging and bloodshot. Then he performed a cool dance for Xiao Shuai. In seconds, a person became a zombie. Xiao Shuai exploited the man's confusion, pushed him out, and locked the door. He panted heavily, moved the fridge to block the door, and called his family, but only got a busy signal. Xiao Shuai was anxious until he received a message from his mom, confirming his family's safety. His heart finally calmed a bit. He chose to survive by following the TV's advice to gather and ration food, but it was extremely scarce. The next day, the news reported that there was no cure for the virus yet, and his phone suddenly lost signal. Xiao Shuai was isolated. He used a drone to scout outside and saw every household had become zombies. Xiao Shuai felt desperate and nervously dozed off on the couch, hearing gunshots outside. A female police officer downstairs was fleeing but was soon overpowered by zombies. Xiao Shuai helplessly watched as zombies dragged her away. He roared in anger, but it only attracted them. A zombie crashed into Xiao Shuai's fridge, attempting to squeeze in. Xiao Shuai fought back, but it was in vain. He ran to the balcony in despair, thinking of jumping but didn't dare. Seeing the approaching zombies, he steeled himself and flipped over. The zombie crashed into the railing and fell, while Xiao Shuai clung on, narrowly escaping death. But before he could enjoy the joy of surviving, a bigger crisis appeared. The zombie knocked over the fridge, destroying his only remaining food. He had never felt so sad, yet he motivated himself to live. Surviving is the only way to reunite with family. After starving for 7 days, she relied on her dad's wine for strength, only to see a ramen commercial on TV that sparked her appetite. She couldn't resist eating the last fish food. By day 15, she was going mad, imagining her family returning. But reality was too cruel. She extended her phone out the window and finally connected with her family, but it turned out to be their last words. He felt there was no hope of survival and prepared to face the zombies outside, but seeing the infected's miserable state, he instinctively felt fear. He hid and returned home safely, but seeing is believing, and the sight was shocking. Being bitten to death by zombies was tragic. Hanging seemed better. As he said goodbye to the world, a red laser dot appeared on his face. Xiao Shuai fought hard, broke free from the rope, and regained his senses after a near-death experience. A girl was visible from the opposite building. Xiao Shuai saw another person, rekindling her hope for survival. They supported one another. Xiao Mei, resourceful, survived with homemade weapons and traps. Noticing Xiao Shuai clutching her stomach, Xiao Mei realized she was hungry. She tried to throw a rope with a baseball, but her strength was too little, and the ball kept falling. Xiao Shuai cleverly used the drone to connect the rope, allowing her to finally have a meal. But before she could celebrate, a zombie picked up the girl's baseball. Dressed as a firefighter, its instincts drove it to climb up. As Xiao Mei was about to untie the rope, she was knocked out by a flying table. Xiao Shuai watched helplessly as the agile zombie approached the girl's balcony. She screamed and tried to distract the zombie with a drone, but nothing worked. It was a critical moment. The girl woke up and chopped off the zombie's hand, saving her life. They were temporarily safe, but with little food left, Xiao Shuai decided not to wait for death. Wrapping her feet in towels, she went out at night. Xiao Shuai searched the nearby apartment, but everything was moldy from being there too long. The male owner was a mountaineering enthusiast, and Xiao Shuai found his storage room full of gear and food. Luckily, there was also a walkie-talkie. As she was leaving, a zombie appeared at the door. Thanks to Xiao Shuai's quickness, she escaped narrowly. She used a rope to share supplies with Xiao Mei, securing their lives temporarily. Through the walkie-talkie, they heard each other's voices for the first time, offering comfort and encouragement, giving them hope to survive. But that night, just as they were about to sleep, they heard crackling sounds outside. Xiao Shuai excitedly thought it was rain, but upon opening the window, it was a horde of zombies for some unknown reason. The zombies were rioting, searching house to house for signs of life. Sudden fear gripped them. They prepared to fight the intruders who could break in at any moment. Xiao Mei accidentally bumped a bookshelf, alerting the zombies who began to approach. If they entered, she would be torn apart immediately. Suddenly, the phone next door rang. Xiao Shuai called to distract the zombies with the ringtone. The situation was dire. They needed to find a zombie-free place for safety. After a month of scouting, Xiao Mei found the 8th floor next door uninhabited. Xiao Mei quickly climbed the railing, slashing zombies and grabbing a policewoman's gun, but was tackled by one. Fortunately, Xiao Shuai arrived just in time, and they fled to the 8th floor. The zombies pursued them, but none of the doors opened there. Trapped with no escape, they were pulled inside as zombies closed in. Xiao Mei was dragged in, and smoke was released to protect Xiao Shuai. It was an older man. They were cautious of his kindness, as trust was scarce in the apocalypse. Only after seeing him drink water safely did they dare to act. The older man generously shared food, assuring them the supplies would last until rescue. They wept with joy, finally seeing a chance to survive. Suddenly, Xiao Shuai fainted at the table, causing Xiao Mei to fear for her. She was about to ask the older man, but felt dizzy too. The older man tied them up and dragged the unconscious Xiao Mei to the bathroom. What was his plan? When she woke up, she saw a female zombie tied up. It was his wife. Unable to leave his zombified lover, he fed her living people. As she loosened the rope, the female zombie crawled toward Xiao Mei. Xiao Mei battled the zombie while Xiao Shuai woke up and demanded the older man free her. Suddenly, the man released the rope. Xiao Shuai lunged for it but lost his grip. Hearing screams inside, he frantically tried to break down the door, but it wouldn't budge. It suddenly went quiet. The older man assumed his wife was inside and opened the door slightly, but it was empty. He opened the door cautiously, and his wife, head covered, lunged at him. Despite his calls, she instinctively bit his neck. Facing the man about to turn into a zombie, Xiao Mei shot and killed the couple. The zombies outside heard the gunshot and swarmed in. They had nowhere to escape. Just as they were about to end each other's lives, the sound of a helicopter suddenly roared outside. The rescue team had really arrived. To seize this last chance, they used all their strength to break through the siege, struggling to reach the rooftop. But there was no sign of the helicopter, and the last line of defense was breached. As the zombies slowly closed in, they used their last bullets, but it was futile. Just as they gave up, the helicopter suddenly appeared. The military shot the zombies and safely rescued them onto the helicopter. They survived. With network signals restored, rescue messages increased, and a large-scale operation began. Survivors found hope to continue. Despite immense challenges and walking a tough path alone, they must believe that as long as they live, hope exists.